Welcome to Banyen Books, Branches of Wisdom, celebrating the joy of bright ideas and heartful lifelong learning. Branches of Wisdom is a series of intimate conversations with the world's most influential authors and visionaries. We explore spirituality and the human mind, ecology and culture. Most episodes are recorded with a live audience. You can join our live events and submit questions to your favorite guests. Check out our upcoming schedule at banyen.com. Since 1970, Banyen Books has been a rich oasis at the crossroads of wisdom and philosophy, offering resources for humanity's evolving paths. We're a locally owned, independent bookstore in the heart of Vancouver's Kitsilano neighborhood. Visit us in person or shop online at banyen.com. Please subscribe, follow, like, and leave your reviews for the podcast. And now, enjoy.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jacob Steele, the events manager for Banyen Books and Sound. And today I'm delighted that we will be hosting Lauren Walker. She'll be discussing practices and insights from her new book, The Energy to Heal, Find Lasting Freedom from Stress and Trauma Through Energy Medicine Yoga. So a few words about Lauren Walker. She is the author of the new book, The Energy to Heal, Find Lasting Freedom from Stress and Trauma Through Energy Medicine Yoga, which is published by Llewellyn. She previously published Energy Medicine Yoga, Amplify the Healing Power of Your Yoga Practice, and also the Energy Medicine Yoga Prescription, both published by Sounds True. Both books won the Nautilus Silver Award for Best Mind-Body Publication. She's been teaching yoga and meditation since 1997 and created Energy Medicine Yoga while teaching at Norwich University. She teaches EM Yoga internationally and has been featured many times in Yoga Journal, Mantra Magazine, Yoga Digest, and published a feature article about her yoga work in the New York Times. In 2016, she was named one of the top 100 most influential yoga teachers in America. And you can find out more about Lauren's work at emyoga.net. Just wanted to read out a couple of quotes in praise of her work in her new book. So Donna Eden wrote, Lauren Walker's work helps you to be a maestro of your own energies, bringing your body, mind, and spirit into greater balance, health, and vitality. Cindy Dale writes, no matter what hardships you're enduring, this book promises freedom. Anna Dia Judith writes, this highly accessible guide is just what you need to take your healing journey into your own hands. And Sean Korn, who we just recently welcomed for an event, wrote, what I love about Lauren Walker's work is that it offers simple tools to help anyone get their energy working for them. So we're really excited to have her here today. Give a warm Banyen welcome to Lauren Walker. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacob. And thank you, Banyen Books. And thank you, everyone that's tuning in. I'm so excited to be here today. I really love Banyen Books. I remember spending hours browsing in the bookstore. And so it's a real honor to be here and to be in Canada. And I'm nervous. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm a little nervous today. I've done a lot of promotion for this new book. I'm really proud of it and I'm really excited about it. But I wanted to do something a little bit different today. That's why I'm a little bit nervous. I have had a love affair with Canada for a long time now. And as all great love affairs have, there's a lot of challenges and difficulties and ultimately triumph. But I wanted to share the story of how this book was born, because it was really born of my time in Canada and born from some of the experiences that I had there. So I'm going to take you into my studio and do a little practice with you. And then I want to do a little practice as I'm telling you the story so that you can stay really grounded and open and listen, and also utilize these tools, see how they work in real time, and get some tips and support on what this book and this practice, where it came from and why it's been so powerful for so many people, myself included. And I'll ask that you that you hold me in a little bit of grace, because it's a difficult story to tell. And I appreciate having the space to do it. So I'm going to jump over to the studio, so come with me. Okay, so what I want to start with is a little practice. And this is called the EM Yoga Wake Up. And it is the baseline practice for any kind of energy work that you'll do with energy medicine yoga. It's all about getting your energy working for you. In all of my books, I explain what energy is and how it works in the body, and the fact that we have 9 energy systems that animate the physical body. And it's really powerful to understand that, and to understand that energy is not this esoteric woo-woo thing that we don't understand and we don't really know how to access. Energy is all there is, and the ways to access it are actually quite simple, elegant, powerful, and transformative. So I want to start with just this little basic practice that if you don't take anything else away from today, I hope you take this with you. So wherever you are, if you're seated or standing or lying down, just feel yourself grounded. So feel your feet on the floor, or your hips or your back body on the bed, wherever you are. Just feel yourself grounded and breathe with me in the nose and out the mouth. Let's do that right now. Take a deep breath. So I want you to keep breathing like that this whole practice. And then as I tell the story, I want you to keep doing that breath too. So you're going to find your collarbones and drop down into these hollows right underneath, and just give a little massage there and see if those feel sore. And then I want you to start thumping or knocking or tapping. You can do this on the physical body. And if that doesn't feel good, you can do it in the field right in front of the physical body. And if you have any limitations with movement, you can visualize this. Just turn your attention inwards, watch what I'm doing, and see yourself doing it or somebody doing it to you, and the energies will still respond. Another breath here in the nose and out the mouth. Now come to the center of the chest. Now I'm going to do this in the field so I don't bang on my microphone there. And I'm getting the same effect. You're going to be doing this on the physical body, stimulating your immune system. One more breath in the nose and out the mouth. Good. And come to the side seam of the body, kind of where the bra strap would land. And that same process, you're just thumping on the body, breathing in the nose and out the mouth. This point allows you to digest and take in information and let the body and energy systems figure out what to do with that information. Shake that off. And now under the eyes, right on the cheekbone there, a little bit of a lighter tap, but still solidly connecting with the physical body, speaking to the energetics. This energy point here helps you to ground. Let's take another breath. Good. Shake that off. And just close your eyes and turn your attention inward and come into a moment of silence. Good. From here, move forward, tapping the same hand to the same leg. Again, you can be seated and do this very small. You can do it really big if you feel like doing big movements right now. Stop doing that now. Shake that off and cross that over. Again, you can do this whole thing visualizing that energy flowing across the midline of the body. Nice deep breath in the nose and out the mouth. Good. And stop. Shake it off. Bring your hands together in front of the pubic bone. Close your eyes. Turn your attention inward and set an intention for yourself. It could be just for this time together or for your day. Inhale, draw that right up the front of the body, all the way up overhead, and then smooth your hands wide around you. We'll do that 2 more times. Bring that intention right up. One more. Good. Bring one finger into the belly button, one finger in between the eyebrows. Press in and pull up. 3 breaths in the nose and out the mouth. Good. Release. Shake it off. And shake off anything else that might need a little shake. So that little 2 or 3 minute practice that we just did, it's called the EM Yoga Wake Up. And what it does is it gets your energy awake, moving in the optimal directions, and then anchoring in so that it can stay like that as long as possible. If there's anything going on in your life, any challenges, stresses, traumas that you're working with, illness, disease patterns, if you don't get your energy to do at the very basic level, go forward and cross over like we did with that one crossing our bodies there, the body cannot heal. It is the root of every issue in the body, having your energy work for you. So that is really a crux piece to take away with you. Okay. So I'm going to do a bunch of other techniques while I'm telling you my story. And I invite you to sit back and relax. And you can do 2 things. You could just watch what I'm doing and let the energy of that also affect your body. Or if you want to join me in doing these techniques that are really simple, I'm just going to be kind of moving hands around my body in different ways, then I invite you to join me and do that practice with me as well. Also, I invite your breath practice to be in the nose and out the mouth, in the nose and out the mouth. Okay. So I moved out west many, many years ago, and I moved to Montana, and I became a ski bum. And Montana borders Canada. And I live really close to the Canadian border. And so we would go to Canada for little ski vacations or lake trips or to the ocean. And when my world imploded in Montana, when I lost my studio because of some non-yogic people in my life, when my president, who I didn't consider to be, how do I say that? When the president of the United States took us into what I believe to be an illegal war in Iraq, I didn't think I could live in this country anymore. And so I moved up to Nelson, British Columbia. Now, Nelson has always been a place, where American expats have lived. And during Vietnam, a lot of expats moved up to Nelson, and it was a town known for its arts community, vibrant arts community, food community, incredible architecture, beautiful, beautiful town. I loved, loved, loved living there. And one of the reasons that I was so excited to live up there is because I met an incredible yoga teacher who was living in Nelson. And I thought, oh, beautiful. I'm going to be able to study deeply with a real, legitimate, powerful yoga teacher. So I spent some time there. I loved it. I smoked a lot of pot because it was way more legal in Canada than it was here. And I was in a really rough place. And so I was doing whatever I could to just keep myself together. I was writing a screenplay, I was practicing yoga, and I was getting ready for ski season. And I met a man. And we fell in love. And I learned so much from this man. And he introduced me to Donna Eden, which was the crux point in my whole life story. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what it turned out to be. So ski season started, and this yoga teacher who I loved so much had an accident very early in the ski season and became paralyzed, quadriplegic. This was devastating to her family, and to our small community in Nelson, who revered her as a leader. It was devastating. If you know Mary Jo Federley, you know how devastating that is. And I'm going to encourage you during this story, if you feel any stress or any trauma triggers, that you do 2 of the techniques in my book that help you out of your stress and trauma. And that is put one hand over your forehead and 2 or 3 fingers in the hollow at the base of the throat. So Mary Jo broke her neck and lost her ability to move and left town and went to Vancouver where she could get the treatment that she needed and left my life. And I didn't know what ever happened to her after that until many, 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 many years later. What I knew, what my experience was I had just lost my yoga community and my home in Montana. And now I had lost my yoga teacher in Canada through a traumatic experience that no one should have to go under. And from that moment, I stopped skiing and I stopped teaching yoga. I kept practicing yoga, but I stopped teaching. And I followed the tendril of Donna Eden so that I could understand what energy was. And I was still in this relationship, which was rocky at best, abusive at worst, and a compulsion that ruled both of our lives for almost a decade. While living in British Columbia, I learned things about the natural world that blew my mind. I lived in Montana for years, but God, British Columbia makes Montana look twee. The natural world there is incredible, intense, and vast, and dangerous, and awe-inspiring. I learned how to trap and how to hunt. I learned survival skills and engagement with nature in a way that made me feel that I was part of this world, an intrinsic part of the natural world. I lived in Nelson for a few years, and then I joined PJ, this man that I had met and fallen in love with, to the EU, where we contemplated relocating. We traveled around in a big truck while he tried to get a gig playing professional hockey in Europe. Of course he did. He's a Canadian and he was an incredible hockey player. And so we traveled around Europe while he tried to get a gig playing hockey. And I wrote a musical. Yeah, that's right. I wrote a musical. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So after the EU, when we decided we weren't going to live there and I got really sick and we broke up for the millionth time, we came back to North America and we chased each other all over Canada. Whitehorse, Nelson, Labrador City, Quebec City, New Brunswick, Smithers. I mean, we were everywhere. I have been to more places in Canada than most Canadians have been into. While I was up in Whitehorse and on a break from this relationship with PJ, I tried to get Canadian citizenship so that I could stay in the country. And Canada has some beautiful opportunities to gain citizenship. And one of them was through an artistic means, like you could be an artist coming and get citizenship in Canada. And so if you know Whitehorse, it's a beautiful small town. And so I went there and I tried to get this artistic citizenship by sharing the story of this incredible musical that I had just written. It was called Slam, the Hockey Rock Opera. I kid you not, I wrote a rock opera about hockey, and it was about my time in Europe with PJ while he was trying to play professional hockey. It was an incredible idea. Ice skating on the stage with a superficial or with a fake ice rink. I mean, we had the whole thing. I had the whole plan in mind. And I talked to a bunch of people in the arts community in Whitehorse, and I came really close, but it didn't happen. And then I moved back to the United States, to Vermont, and I started to work more on the musical in earnest, getting it ready for production. And shortly before that time, I discovered that the man that I had told my story to in Whitehorse stole my idea and was developing my musical into a movie, and they produced it. And so I had to speed up production of my play so that we could be first, because I had the lawyers' letters written and all of that, but they were a big company. And we did get our musical out first. Slam, the Hockey Rock Opera, went on and played in Montpelier, Vermont. And the stolen movie came out. It was called score a hockey musical starring, I wrote her name down because I knew I wouldn't remember, Olivia Newton-John. I kid you not, this is real. You can look it up. Okay, so I did the musical, they did their musical, and I kept working on my yoga. And PJ and I were apart at this time, and I was developing energy medicine yoga and writing down what would eventually become my first book. I was working at a military university, and I was learning so much from these students who were preparing to go to war. And I was giving them tools to stay with themselves no matter what happened, no matter what traumas they would go through, no matter what stresses they would go through. And that book got bought and it got published and it came out. And I thought, wow, everything is going to change for me. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to find all of the things that I want in my life. And I started to go on book tour and teaching tour, because now here I was, not just a yoga teacher, but a yoga teacher with a new book and a new style of yoga that she was developing. What could be more incredible? While I was on that book tour, you can put a hand to your forehead and two fingers into the hollow at the base of your throat. PJ was involved in an event of over abuse of power from the police. Now, as an American, this is something I'm used to. We see it all across the country every day, police brutality, police force. But it happens in Canada too, and it happened to him. Over 4 days, there was a massive manhunt. Choppers, dogs, plastered all over every media from end to end of Canada. And in the end, the RCMP murdered an innocent man. That was my PJ. And if any of you have been in a difficult, challenging relationship with someone that you still love and consider still your best friend, you know how devastating it can be to lose them. But to lose them in that way, the police were calling me, CBC was calling me, CBC, right, that's the Canadian. CBC was calling me, the Canadian Post, I don't even know the names of all the newspapers, they all called me, they all wanted to interview me, it was all too much, too late, and I crawled into bed and willed myself to die. But I didn't die. I didn't die. And what I did was gather every possible tool that I possibly could, every call a friend that I possibly could to save my soul. And I did. I found the tools to not just understand that I was traumatized, to not just hold it at bay so that I could get through my life, but tools so that I could heal, so that I could release these traumatic experiences, not just PJ's death, but all of the experiences that had led me to this point. And one of the crucial points of my healing again came in Canada. I was to teach at Hollyhock, and so I was starting the 2-day journey to get there. And I was really still at a very, very low point. I had these tools, I was using them, and they kept me just breathing, just like my nose, just above water, but not thriving and not fully healing. And so I had my assistant and she came out with me and we're driving, and I said, just to let you know, I'm in a really bad place. Life is horrible and it sucks. And I'm unhappy and miserable, and we're going to Hollyhock to teach, and sorry, that's just how it is, just letting you know that. And off we drove, drive. And, you know, she's kind of a little like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And so we drive and we get to the border, and I don't have my passport. Now, this was a few years ago, but still, you need a passport to get into the country. And what I did have was an expired passport, but I didn't have my up-to-date current passport because I couldn't find it. So we get up there and we're in the car and we're just like, well, if we can't get through, we turn around, we call Hollyhock, what can we do? We drive back home. Can we fly? I don't know. And we get there and there had been a report out looking for a specific car for some reason. And so all of the border patrols all over Northwest were looking for this one specific car. And we didn't fit that. We weren't the car that they were looking for. So we drive up to the passport office, to the border. We hand them her passport, my assistant's and mine that was expired. And the woman took the 2 passports and she walked all the way around the car, looking at every part of the car. And she came back. And why are you going to Canada? I have a contract to go teach at Hollyhock. How long will you be there? About 2 weeks. And she handed us the passports and waved us through. And we were like, whoa, did that just happen? That was the start of the transformation from a field of trauma into a field of magic. Now, why did that start to happen? We were going to Hollyhock to study with Rupert Sheldrake, who is one of the missing pieces of my healing journey. He taught me about fields, understanding fields and field theory, how they work, how fields of trauma draw more trauma to you, and how you can get out of your field of trauma. And just by us going to that event with Rupert, even before we got there, when we were at the border, the way fields work is it was already reaching out to us. We had so much magic on that trip. And when I finally was able to sit there in class with Rupert and understand this, it was the piece that clicked and opened up everything else. If I had been stuck in a field of trauma, that meant that there was a field of not trauma. There was a place that I could get to where all of the traumas of my life that had drawn and magnetized all of these other traumas to me could stop, could cease. I could breathe, I could be free, I could thrive, I could soar. And that's exactly what happened. That was the last piece of the journey for me. And I put all of the pieces together, all of the pieces, the holds, the tapping, the EFT tapping, the understanding of fields, the understanding of how to weave your aura together, the understanding of journaling that could actually bring out the pieces that were missing from your story so that you could complete them. And I moved from my field of trauma into a field of magic. It was probably 8 months later that I re-met the man that just became my husband. And that would never have happened if I had not cleared away the debris that was blocking my light from shining, blocking my ability to tap into my true source. I didn't really write this book. This book wrote me. This book is my journal of practices that saved my life. It was me putting the puzzle together. How do you come out of something so horrible? Not just pack it away and put it away and hold it at bay so that you can get through your days, but what can you do to actually overcome, to really heal? Is that possible? To really thrive, is that possible? That's what this book became for me. It was my savior. And I thought that's all it would be. I was saved, Hosanna, now I'm going to go back to teaching yoga. I wasn't going to publish this book. As a matter of fact, I shared it with a friend who I really respected her opinion at the time. And I said, is this valuable? Should I do something with this? And she read it and she said, no, it's no good. No, the story is too weird. I don't think so. I don't like it. It's no good. It'll take you like a decade to get that even ready for publication. And I said, okay, I trust you. I'm going to throw that in the drawer. And I did. I threw it in the drawer. Beware people who give you their opinions. A few months later, I talked to one of my best friends from when I was 11 years old, who holds my gold, someone who loves me truly, wants the best for me, non-competitive, non-jealous. It's tough to find a lot. She said, can I read your book? I said, oh, it's in a drawer. I'm done. I'm not pursuing that anymore. I'm doing other things. Oh, okay, that's great. But can I read it? Okay, she's my best friend. I'm going to let her read it. She read the book. She said, Lauren, please publish this book. I gave it to my editor. She said, this is amazing. Please publish this book. So I'm ready now to share this work. My story is in it very little because it's not important. It doesn't matter what I've gone through. It doesn't matter what anyone else has gone through. What matters is what you've gone through. And I'm here to tell you, you can get through it. You can get beyond it. You can get to a place again where you are free, where you feel love for yourself and love for the world, where you can thrive again. If we don't overcome our traumas and we don't release our stressors, we bring that out into the world. I was not a good person when I was suffering my deepest traumas. I couldn't talk to anyone with a kind word. And that's not the kind of world I want to live in, where I'm mean to someone else because I'm in so much pain. That's what we're seeing in the world around us today. This cruelty and violence born of trauma. We don't need to be in pain. We don't want to be in pain. Healing feels so much better than dying. So that's the story of how the energy to heal was birthed from the traumas I experienced and the gifts that I experienced in your beautiful, beautiful country. And while I want to get this book into every hand of every person on the planet, I also feel that it is an incredible gift from PJ. And I never thought I'd feel like that. What is the gift in that relationship? It was so difficult while it happened, and it ended so horrifically and painfully. What could the gift be? The gift is this book to you, to me, to all of us, that from the ashes we can rise again. So that is my gift to you, and I hope that you take it up. I hope that you go to Banyen today, in person or online, and get yourself a copy of this book and get an extra copy to give it to your friend that's in pain or that's suffering right now. Pass it on. We need to heal ourselves and the world. We need to do it. We need to do it now. I'm going to go back to Hollyhock next summer and teach. I know that's a long way away, but if you're a planner like me, put it on your calendar, August 2023. And if you want to go back sooner, which I hope you do, if you haven't been to Hollyhock, you've got to get up there. Rupert Sheldrake, who changed my life, is going to be up there this summer as well, end of July. So go to Hollyhock to find some healing for yourself. But first, grab this book and find some healing for yourself. If you take anything away from this today, that little wake-up technique and this, to mitigate your trauma and to mitigate your stress. You can do them both together at the same time or one at a time. And I promise you that that hold will help to start calm you down, help transform the fight or flight continual pattern that comes up every time you get triggered. It will start to rewrite that, take the stress and the energy out of the system so that you can be calm and centered and grounded and you again, and come back to your intrinsic truth, that you are love and that you have great things to offer to this world, large and small. So that is my invitation to you. And I thank you so much for listening to my story. I've never told it before, and I really appreciate it. And I felt you holding me as I went through those difficult parts. So thank you for that. And thank you for this opportunity to be here with you today. And I want to open up to any questions that you have about me or the story or about the book or about you and challenges that you're facing right now. If there's anything that I can do to help and support you. This book takes you through a 7-point journey of healing. Your issue comes in at the top. Then you spin it through this 5-pronged wheel of practice and comes out with the resolution that you then integrate into your life. You can do that over and over again for any issue that you're experiencing, large or small. Life is full and rich and abundant, and it doesn't stop until it stops. And so we have these stresses and these traumatic experiences that happen. We need to keep our hearts open, and then we need to come back into a protective place and digest, and then open our hearts again. This book will help you to digest those difficult experiences and to open your heart again. Thank you for listening. And now I want to listen to you and hear the questions that you have so that I can support you moving into a field of magic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that story. It's so moving. Well, here's a question just off the top from Melissa. Can we still enroll in your Energy to Heal course, even though it has already started almost 2 weeks ago? If not, when are you going to reopen it?
That's a great question. Thank you. So actually, you can't enroll in that course now. We closed it because of the live component and because of the through line of that journey. And I will be offering it again in the fall through the Shift Network. And so I believe that it starts the first week of October. But if you go to my website, energymedicineyoga.net or emyoga.net, then sign up for the newsletter and you'll be the first to know when it opens to purchase. And one of the beautiful things with the Shift Network is they offer a lot of scholarships. And so if financial issues are there for you, and I know for a lot of us right now they are, then take advantage of that and take this course no matter what. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in October.
Thank you. Before we went live, you and I were just talking about, I was just reflecting on how I've noticed so many, like such a rise in trauma-informed yoga, or not yoga necessarily, but trauma-informed like spiritual and therapy practices. And I was reflecting on how a few years ago there wasn't so much thinking around that. It seemed like there was, and from my opinion, it seems like a really good development, because there's it used to be much more like spiritual bypassing and just sort of like grabbing after enlightenment or something without really like the integration. It seems like that's a shift that's been happening, I've noticed. And you were starting to tell me that, you know, there's some differences between trauma informed and then trauma healing and the work that you do. So I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that, because I think it's really important. And I love the move to trauma informed in all of these alternative practices, because most of us are trauma survivors, even if you don't necessarily label yourself as such. And a lot of people feel that loaded term of trauma, like, I'm not a trauma survivor. But then if you sort of dig down and ask what's going on, and you'll find, okay, you've had a lot of traumatic experiences that you haven't been able to release. If you don't resonate with the word trauma, a stress survivor, right? I think stress is almost a badge of like, you know, yay, I'm so stressed out. Everything's so stressful. It interacts in the body in the same way as trauma. Stress and trauma, nearly identical. And so, to your point, trauma-informed yoga, which is what I'm most familiar with. So I'm going to say my piece about that. And I'm not sure if it extrapolates to these other modalities, but it may. In trauma-informed yoga, which started to become really more in the mainstream of several years ago, it was about acknowledging that so many of us have had trauma and that we need to feel safe. And so the practice really tried to include those directives towards feeling safe as a trauma survivor in a yoga class. Things like, when I ask you to keep your eyes closed, I might say, or keep them open if that's more comfortable for you. I might be really clear about where the exits are in the room. I might ask if anyone doesn't like loud music, drumming, those kind of things can be triggers for a trauma survivor. I'd be really clear about if I'm going to do a hands-on adjustment or not, and allow anyone who doesn't want that to opt out of that. So these are some really solid guidelines that teachers were being taught to use to be trauma informed, so that I'm sensitive to understanding that you have trauma. And that is a huge step. It is beautiful and it is huge. And it ends there. And I was not seeing a lot of trauma healing. So that's great that you're informed that I have trauma, but now I need to heal my trauma. And what do you have to offer me? And I wasn't seeing those offerings. The difference with energy medicine yoga is there is a pathway to healing your trauma. It is a pathway, not just like, good luck, here's some practices, but an actual pathway, a guided pathway. And I was in a class a few years ago by one of the top trauma specialists, yoga teachers in the country. And he said, you're always going to have your trauma. It's always going to affect you, but I'm going to show you some ways to mitigate that. And I had to do everything in my power to stop myself from jumping up and say, no, that's not true. Don't plant that seed. Because the truth is, you can overcome your trauma. You can be free of it. And what I mean by that is be free of those triggers that throw yourself into the stress response of the original trauma. That is the PTSD definition, that the body is going through the exact same physiology as when you had the first trauma. And that you can release. Your story is always going to be your story. PJ is always going to have been killed. But I am not always going to be triggered by telling that story. And so then your story is your story. And what you do with that becomes the gift of the trauma. But you don't have to continue to be traumatized by your trauma or stressed by your stress. So I hope, I don't know if that extrapolates into the other healing modalities, but in the yoga world, I think it's time that we moved on from trauma informed to trauma healing.
So have you seen, I imagine you have, you've seen this happen where people will go from trauma to like really healed from their trauma?
Yeah. I mean, over and over and over again. And so when I say that it was my friend, Hillary Crowley, who told me to publish this book, that is true. But another reason that I chose to publish that is because I had so many students and teachers in training with me that would come up to me and say, I have to tell you, Lauren, I've been struggling with this issue, X, Y, or Z, and traumatic issues, like all of the big traumas that you could imagine: sexual assault, violence, violent death in the presence of, I mean, just all the loss of children, like the things that you think will end your life and you will never get past them. And these teachers came up to me and said, you know, I've tried everything and nothing has touched it. Nothing has moved it until I started practicing EM yoga. And some of them had these resolutions because they had been doing this trauma work, trying to heal their trauma for a long time. And once they introduced these EM yoga practices in, the trauma healing was really fast and kind of surprised them and surprised me as well. I thought, at that point, I wasn't even teaching specifically towards trauma and stress. That is the power of this work, the power of working with your energy. You cannot heal your trauma by thinking yourself out of it. You cannot get out of your stress by thinking yourself out of it. You have to, even Bessel van der Kolk, the #1 trauma healer in the country, says, forget everything I said, move the body. And I wish he had said, forget everything I said, do energy medicine yoga, because the trauma is in the physical body and it's in the energy body. And when you can address it where it is, you can release it. And so that's really the promise. And it blows my mind to this day. It really surprises me all the time how powerful this work is for healing things that I would have thought before, well, you know, I'm so sorry for what you've gone through, but you're going to have to just find ways to get through it. And now I don't think that anymore.
So actually, it makes me wonder, so you talk about like releasing trauma energetically, like from your energy body and I guess from your physical body. if you release that, does that mean that, and we're not talking about changing your storylines and like that, so it's just an energy practice. What happens when you retract or like come back to it, like when you're not as strong, your energies are weaker, and you're in a place that's not as integrated energetically? Does the trauma return, or how does that work?
So the trauma, when you release something, it is released, like it's gone, which is not to say that your trauma experience is not a continuum, right? Of like, we have a relationship with our experiences. But when you release them, let me speak more pointedly to your question. Energy medicine yoga is a practice, and your energy follows patterns and habits and forms habitual patterns. And so if you're stuck in a trauma response, this field theory, you are stuck in a pattern of trauma. When you move out of that pattern, like you've got these two patterns behind you on the wall. So this is really good. Like we can just look at that and you can understand repeating patterns, right? So when you move out of that pattern of trauma, you move into a different pattern, into a different field. Now, we're not always going to be the same every day. Things change in our energetic bodies, just like they change in our physiologies and in our mental mind and all of that. The practice is to continue creating and habituating these beneficial patterns versus the difficult and challenging patterns. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. So it's almost like the energy field or something that you live in and that you kind of view the world through is like a different kind of matrix almost. And you were kind of saying that, but it's a practice. It's an ongoing practice.
That's right. Because life is an ongoing practice, right? And so we can get thrown back into our challenges, our challenging emotions by things that happen anew, right? So a new experience occurs and it reminds us of an experience that we've had that's similar. And then we go back into feeling those feelings, the grief that we felt, the sadness that we felt. But if you have practiced and strengthened and released these, the most challenging energies of this and really understood the intelligences that these events were giving you, if you've really done the work, then you can go back and visit. Like I just told the story and I got a little emotional, but I'm not crashing. I'm not going to go, my day isn't over now. I'm not going to go back now for 6 months and crawl under the covers and cry. I can cry. I can go back and feel the pain of that experience and the grief and the sadness and the unfairness of his untimely death and all of that. And then I sit for a moment and thank you, great universe. I don't understand, but I'm okay. And blessings to those who are hurt and gratitude for the gifts, and take a breath and peace and move forward. And it becomes easier and easier as you go.
I can actually, an image that came to my mind just now is like, like say as a child and say as a grown up now, like, it's like living with a completely different matrix of like, I don't experience the world anything like I did at that point. It's almost like it is like a different person, So I could see how your whole world could change based on whatever patterns you're living in, I guess, energetically.
100%. I mean, if you think about your energy as an environmental construct, let's just do that for a moment, because it's really hard to anchor into what energy is, even though energy is all there is, right? Everything is energy. But let's just look at it for a moment as a soup that we're in. So if you're living in a very hot climate, you are going to wear fewer clothes. You're going to always have a sun hat on. You're going to drink lots of water. If you're living in a very cold climate, you're going to wrap yourself up. You're going to bundle yourself. You're going to drink warm drinks to warm yourself, right? So you're a different person depending on what is the environment. So if you're living in an environment of trauma or an environment of stress in the fields around you, which is your environment, then you're acting and reacting to the world in a very different way than if you're living in a field of calmness and peace and gratitude. And not to say that in calmness and peace and gratitude, you're not ever triggered and you're not ever sad. I mean, this is not like, like you said, the Matrix, it's not, I forget which color the pill is that you take, that you're just in like everything is good world, right? This is not that. You are still very much engaged with the world you live in, but you're engaged in it from the patterns of ease, the patterns of gratitude. And those are real things in your energy fields. Your energy fields are real things. They're more real in a way than the physical body. They certainly have a bigger effect on the physical body than a lot of other things in your life. And so when you're living in these fields that are more supportive of you being joyful and happy, you have access to being more joyful and happy, as well as the tools to work through the stresses and the traumas when they inevitably come around again in your life.
There's a question from Sabina just came in. She writes, Lauren, thank you so much for this moving presentation. I love EM yoga, and your book lies always open on a table in our house. I wonder how you can help your paralyzed friend deal with her terrible trauma that will remain with her throughout her life.
Well, I don't want to speak for Mary Jo, because we did reconnect recently, actually, and discovered that we both took very similar paths. She still teaches yoga, and she has gone down the energy rabbit hole, as have I, in a very different way. And knowing the incredible teacher that she was before her accident, I know that she is an incredible teacher after the accident, and she has worked through her traumas. There's a difference between healing and curing. Curing would be that she has full use of her whole body again. Healing is the life that she has created that is beautiful and impactful and joyful and meaningful in relationship with the experience that she's gone through. But I don't want to speak for Mary Jo. You can find her yourself, because she teaches yoga. She teaches in Vancouver. She's writing a book right now about her experiences. And I actually think she's on this call, because we spoke yesterday about, I actually asked her right up, was it okay if I shared her story? Because obviously the trauma that she experienced was off the charts. The trauma I experienced through her story, I don't like to compare trauma stories. That's not a good comparative, but I had a trauma response to her experience. And that was different for me, clearly, than it was for her. And I wanted to be really aware and respectful of her story, because her story is much different than my story in relation to what happened to her. And so she did give me permission, and I want you all to find her out. And then when her book comes out, I hope that you invite her here in Banyen to speak of it. And she and I might have a few little surprises in store for you before that. So thank you for asking, and please check her out. She's an incredible, incredible woman. One of the powerful figures in my own journey, Mary Jo Federley.
In fact, she just wrote, she said, bless your heart, Lauren, and thank you for this amazing presentation. Perfect answer. And yes, I have healed.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Jo. Hi.
And she wrote, you're kind. And Tara wrote a question. How could this approach be used in dealing with chronic pain? Thank you.
That's a great question. So pain in the body is energy that is stuck. I know that might seem like a huge generalization, but that is the truth. That is one of the languages that energy speaks. It speaks in pain. It speaks in tapping, right? We did this tapping at the very beginning. That's another language, the pulsations of energy through the body. But the one that most of us are fluent in is pain. And so chronic pain as well is a pattern. It is a habit, and it is a field of habit that one of your energy systems, called triple warmer, is stuck in and is holding tight. So How can you work with chronic pain? The first thing that you can do is start to do that daily energy medicine yoga practice. Do that daily practice. And then if you look through this book, or even my second book, The Energy Medicine Yoga Prescription, which you also can get at Banyen, it breaks down all of these different symptoms that we have into 5 different areas, and that will guide you to what practices that you can do to support your journey so that you can start to move some of those energies. I really encourage you to do the journal practicing in the Energy to Heal, because that will start to uncover, okay, this might be opening something too big, but I'll try to say it really quickly. The number one cause of stress in the body is unprocessed emotions. Unprocessed emotions is the number one cause of stress in the body. Stress is the number one cause of disease in the body. So unprocessed emotions, unprocessed trauma, unprocessed stress is the number one cause of disease in the body. And the science is coming out more and more on that, saying that emotions cause and traumas cause disease in the body. Energy medicine yoga is one of the only yoga practices that I know that allows the emotional self to be fully present and to give you actual tools to work with your emotions. This is one of the hallmarks of releasing trauma and releasing stress, because they're all bound up with our emotional body. You can release the physical trauma from the body, but you still also have to release the emotional trauma for you to be fully free. And so some of those journal practices will help you understand the underlying emotional components of the chronic pain. I want to be very clear that there is no, it is my fault because this is happening. 0. Take that out of any thinking that you have. Nothing is your fault in that realm at all. Our bodies are very complex. Our minds are very complex, and our energy systems are very complex. There is no, you did this and then this happened. There is no that. Okay. So I just want to make that really clear, because coming back into love for yourself, acceptance, forgiveness is key to healing. So if you have any self-blame for anything in your life that is causing you trauma or causing you stress, I encourage you to do some of the practices to release that, so that you can come into that place of love from which all healing happens. I do believe healing is possible for all of us.
I think we have time maybe for one more question. Tara was asking, can you offer any comments for those of us with chronic fatigue syndrome?
I would say really similar to the chronic pain is, the chronic fatigue is also a pattern in the body. Most diseases are patterns of energy in the body. And this is not to diminish how intense they are. They are patterns of energy in the body. And we need to start to work and shift those patterns. And again, starting with the wake up. If you've never worked with energy before, start with those very, very basic movements to get your energy starting to work for you. But more than that, to start to have a relationship with your energy. If you've never had a relationship with your energy before, this is crucial. And I'll say one more thing, because I know that there's a lot of you that are really suffering and struggling out there. The practices in all 3 of my books are going to help all of you right away, just to make some just little shifts, right? You can start to just get a little bit more energy, a little more clarity, a little more separation from that emotion, so that you can see it a little bit clearer and have a little bit more understanding of what you need to do next, so that you start to take the steps. But if you're working with something that's long-standing and really challenging and very specific, then I encourage you to seek out a certified energy medicine practitioner from Donna Eden's school, Inner Source. And you can go on her website, innersource.net, or the Eden Method. I'm not sure which one now has the listing of her advanced practitioners. But find someone that can work with you, because, again, we have 9 energy systems of the body. All of them interrelate. And all of them have a lot going on with them. And so if you're working one-on-one with someone, they're going to energy test all of these systems, find out where there's weaknesses or leaks in energy or tears or submerged energy or frozen energy or backwards energy, really specific to you, which I can't do on this call, right? So working one-on-one with somebody, and we also have energy medicine yoga practitioners that work one-on-one to give you a prescription, a yoga prescription for whatever it is that is up for you right now. And you can find those on emyoga.net too. So do these practices, start to engage your own energy systems. And then this is the number one rule after the first two things of healing trauma, which is find your breath in the nose, out the mouth. I taught you that. Learn the wake up. I taught you that. So those are the first two tools for trauma healing. And then you come to reach out for help. Reach out for help. Don't isolate yourself. Don't isolate. It takes a village. It takes a community. We need to support each other. This is why I think this is the most important work we need to do on the planet right now, because we are together. And so we need to help each other release our pain so that we stop hurting ourselves and each other. And that takes our community. It takes loving each other, sharing, helping, witnessing, supporting. It's really important. And so please reach out for help if you're struggling. And if you're not struggling and you see someone who is, reach out to help them. Offer someone a hand, a cup of tea, a glass of water, an ear to listen to, or a copy of my new book. I had to say it. I'm ultimately the comedian, right? Joy, laughter is a powerful medicine as well, but you won't get to that until the fire chapter in the Energy to Heal book. But really, we need to do this work. It's so important. And I promise you that you will start to feel changes right away. And that will help draw you further down the path so that you can explore what healing can mean for you. I really hope and encourage you to join us and to reach out.
Well, thank you for sharing all this glimpse into the practice and this taste and the wisdom and your story, which is really very moving. And thanks for sharing that for the first time, in this way with us. It's really special. So everybody, you can get Lauren Walker's books at Banyen, Banyen, at banyen.com. And you can find out more about her work at emyoga.net. And check her out at Hollyhock a year from now. And lots of courses and things that you can find on her website. So thank you so much again. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacob. It was really beautiful speaking with you. Thank you, Banyen, for hosting me. And thank you, Canada. I still live really close by, and I'm excited to come back. You are a magnificent, magnificent country. So thank you for being my neighbor.
Thanks for joining us for Branches of Wisdom, a podcast of Banyen Books and Sound, Canada's spiritual and healing resource since 1970. Our podcast producer is Jacob Steele. The show is edited by Abdo Habani. Watch all our conversations on YouTube by searching for Banyen Books, or listen on your favorite podcast platform. Please subscribe, follow, like, and leave your reviews and comments. We love to hear from you. For all our live events, books, and more, visit us at banyen.com.